court. If Putin comes here in August as planned, your government will be obliged to arrest him. As head of the ANC, do you believe your government should and indeed will arrest a man who is being investigated for war crimes by the International Criminal Court?
We will welcome him to come here. Putin is a head of state. Do you think that a head of state can just be arrested anywhere? How many crimes have your country committed in Iraq? How many crimes have everyone else who's so vocal today committed in Iraq and Afghanistan? Have you arrested them? You
know the impact that this stand of yours...
You're making a lot of noise about putting a state of working for peace between Ukraine and Russia, and you failed to resolve the war. Where are the weapons of mass destruction? Tony Blair went to Iraq and claimed that there are weapons of mass destruction. Did you see anybody standing against that in the United Kingdom and Britain? Millions of people have died in Iraq and Afghanistan, and there are no weapons of mass destruction.
Welcome to Wake Up Blaq. Educate and enlighten.
Of the degree to which overseas investors are now turning away from South Africa. Neil Froneman, the CEO at Sibanye-Stillwater, which I think is the biggest employer in the mining sector in South Africa, he says business investment in South Africa is on strike. Investors now are very negatively disposed to this country. They've lost faith and they've lost trust. For outside investors, they look at the foreign policy, diplomatic orientation of South Africa. They see that right now you are locked in a tense dispute with the United States because the US sees you as deeply sympathetic to Vladimir Putin's Russia, despite the Russian all-out invasion of Ukraine.
We have explained those issues. Our government is dealing with those matters with the United States of America. We are not locked in any dispute of any form. And we are non-aligned when it comes to the conflict in Russia. And that is the line we're pursuing.
Well, the US ambassador here in South Africa said that he had evidence that weapons had been loaded onto a Russian...
I met with him yesterday. He apologized for being overzealous and saying things that he shouldn't have said.
Yeah, you say he's apologized. We have not heard him himself issue an apology.
Well, I am saying to you, he have apologized. I met him right here in the Revolutionary House yesterday.
Your government has launched an investigation about that alleged weapons shipment.
It is correct.
Can you categorically guarantee to me here and now, as the head of the ANC, that no weapons were put on board that vessel?
Our government has reassured the ANC that there is nothing to the truth about weapons being exchanged between our country.
I phrased my question carefully. Can you now categorically say no weapons were put on board that Russian ship?
I've explained to you that there is a action that has been taken by our government in terms of investigating.
South Africa is a treaty member of the International Criminal Court. If Putin comes here in August as planned, your government will be obliged to arrest him. As head of the ANC, do you believe your government should and indeed will arrest Vladimir Putin?
If it was according to the ANC, we will want President Putin to be here even tomorrow.
You would?
To come to our country. But
you would welcome Vladimir Putin here right now?
Of course we will welcome.
A man who is being investigated for war crimes by the International Criminal Court.
We will welcome him to come here as part and parcel of BRICS, but we know that we are constrained by the ICC in terms of doing that. Putin is a head of state. Do you think that a head of state can just be arrested anywhere? How many crimes have your country committed in Iraq? How many crimes have everyone else who's so vocal today committed in Iraq and Afghanistan? Have you arrested them? You have not.
You know the impact that this stand of yours...
You're making a lot of noise about putting a state of working for peace between Ukraine and Russia, and you failed to resolve the war. Where are the weapons of mass destruction? Tony Blair went to Iraq and claimed that there are weapons of mass destruction. Did you see anybody standing against that in the United Kingdom and Britain? More than millions of people have died in Iraq and Afghanistan, and there are no weapons of mass destruction. We know what the war is about.
Mr. Secretary General,
between Russia and Ukraine, we want peace. That's what is important, so that the world can thrive. and organs and institutions of the world that institute world peace must not be conspicuous by their silence in deciding decisively.
We don't
to
have much
bring
time
about
left.
peace.
I want to bring it back to domestic South African politics before we end. You acknowledge with me very candidly that the load shedding is causing real political damage to the ANC. You called it an Achilles heel. You know the opinion polls show that the ANC right now is sunk well below the 50% mark in terms of support, which means in the 2024 election it is highly likely you will not win a parliamentary majority. You're probably, if you can rule at all, going to have to rule by coalition. Are you looking at Julius Malema's economic freedom fighters as a partner for the ANC after 2024?
I've been heading ANC elections now for over a decade. I've never gone to an election where the polls have been positive about the incumbent. Because of the sense of incumbency, you will always be affected negatively by the polls.
Well, forgive me,
go
but
to
in
the
previous
field and
elections,
work.
the ANC has polled 60%, 70%. This time you're at